This is my seat in the Altneuschul Synagogue. It's been my seat for many years. I chose it so that I could lean my arm on here when I'm praying. I would come here once a year. I would come here once a year for the Jewish high holidays, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Then I started to come twice a year for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Purim. Now I come every month. Before I first came to Prague, I received 2 postcards from friends who had visited here. One was from Kathy and David Levine. David Levine was the most famous caricaturist in America, and they wrote me how moving this site is, and I must come here. I also received a similar postcard from Yaakov Mesherer, who was then the curator at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, also telling me that I must come here.
Ono, myslím, ne nadarmo se říká Praze, že je magická, ono se to myslí obecně, ale i z čistě toho židovského hlediska to velice platí. Nejen kvůli těm jedinečným památkám, ale je zde opravdu velice silný duch židovské tradice. A já si myslím, že Marka Podvala toto jako věřícího člověka, ale současně jako umělce nesmírně oslovilo. A navíc zde, myslím, našli řadu tvůrčích podnětů a současně společenství, které bylo ochotno ty tvůrčí podněty, tak jak on je rozvíjel, s radostí přijímat.
For many years, before I came to Prague, I had drawn this cemetery, and I had drawn it in a book of Lamentations. I had drawn it in Elie Wiesel's book, The Golem. And finally, when I came here in 1997, it was an extremely moving experience. I knew the cemetery from photographs and from etchings, but to see the actual cemetery was very, very heart-wrenching. In 1996 was my first visit to Prague, and it was 1 year before I would have an exhibition at the Jewish Museum in Prague. I came to see the exhibition space, meet the people at the Jewish Museum. The first night that I arrived here with my son Michael, who was 14 years old. We were invited to the Kabbalah Shabbat services in the High Synagogue, and that's where I met Dr. Pajek, who is the curator of the Jewish Museum and curated my exhibition. That night when we came to this synagogue was the rededication of this synagogue. It had not been used for I don't know how many years, and that was the first night that it started to be used again. So it was a very memorable experience to be here that first evening of the dedication. When I went to the Altneuschul for the first time, many of the congregation were elderly men. I don't remember any young children. Over the years, many of those elderly men are no longer here. They've passed on, and the services are filled with young children who are running around, and it's great to see the new generations in the Jewish community. Over the last 15 years, I've made many close friends in Prague, whereas now some of my best friends are in Prague rather than people that I've grown up with in the United States. We share similar interests in Jewish culture and the Jewish religion, and in Prague I feel closest to my Jewish roots.
Bohužel já mám problém, že nemluvím anglicky a pan Podwal se nemluví německy nebo hebrejsky, takže vlastně jako ten náš vztah je v podstatě němej. Ale mám takový dojem, že prostě jako vztah to je i přesto a že není daný jenom tím, že on je dobrý malíř a já jsem rabín synagogy, do který on chodí. Myslím si, že prostě jako si nějakým způsobem rozumíme a jsem tomu rád.
When there was an interview with me in Rosh Chodesh several years ago, the interview's title was "My Synagogue is in Prague," and it really is. So this is the eastern wall of the Altneuschul, the Star Nova Synagogue. And these are the steps that lead up to the attic, where legend says the golem rests. In 1997, when I had my exhibition at the Jewish Museum, curator Arno Pajic asked if I'd want to go up to the attic. Now, going this way is very dangerous, but they were doing a restoration. They were renovating the Altneuschul, so there was all this scaffolding around, so we were able to climb up little ladders from one scaffold to the next and go and look into the attic. One is not supposed to enter the attic under threat of excommunication, but we looked into the attic, and I was very surprised at what I saw. And everybody asked me what I saw, and I don't tell anybody what I saw. I took photographs, and they disappeared mysteriously. There's been great commercialization of the golem legend. There's a golem restaurant. There are small golem souvenirs that are sold throughout Prague. There are golem t-shirts. In the documentary film that I did on the Jewish cemetery, there was a sentence that I wrote that says, although the magic formula by which the golem was called to life has long been forgotten, armies of golems wait to be summoned. And those armies of golems are these souvenirs. In New York, I grew up in a home that didn't practice any Jewish observances. And I don't even recall being in a synagogue until age 12 when I went to a cousin's bar mitzvah. But at age 12, my parents sent me to a Jewish camp. And in the Jewish camp, they had services where prayers were said every morning. Prayers were said before meals and after meals. And I knew nothing. And it was embarrassing for me that I knew nothing, but I didn't let anybody know I was embarrassed. And I didn't let anybody know that I knew nothing. So I quickly memorized the prayers, and by the end of the summer was even able to lead a prayer service. When people ask me, am I an Orthodox, conservative, or Reformed Jew, my response is, I'm a non-observant Orthodox Jew, which really is a contradiction in terms, because the reason I say that is that I like things done the Orthodox way as long as somebody else does them for me. Okay, so I've done a drawing that's not in this book, where the menorah, so I'm showing you how one thing in a drawing can become something else. So here, so it's Jerusalem. So how do these two things go together? The menorah becomes the roads to the gates to Jerusalem. So in the book there are these sukkahs, and it has leaves on the top. But I wanted to do something interesting. What I do with my drawings is I try to come up with an idea that somebody else hasn't come up with. Because as you get older and you develop your drawing skills and ability, you'll be able to draw very well. Some of you will draw better than others. But it's not just how well you draw, it's what the idea that you draw. It has been often said that as a result of the Holocaust, all of Europe has become a Jewish cemetery. Whereas this cemetery, which opened at the end of the 19th century, The land was enough, calculated to bury probably over 100,000 people, but because of the Holocaust, many of the graves would never be here. As an artist, I'm interested in iconography, particularly iconography in cemeteries. This is a common symbol for life cut short, like the life cut short of my Uncle David, who died in Auschwitz, who doesn't have such a monument because his ashes were scattered into the sky. And when my grandmother learned that her son, who she was not able to bring from Poland, died in Auschwitz, she was then institutionalized for depression for 18 years until she died. Since 1972, so it's 40 years now, my drawings have been published in the New York Times. And the first drawing that was published in 1972 was my drawing on the Munich massacre. Since then, I've had hundreds of drawings that I've done for the New York Times on many different subjects. But then, at some point, I told the art directors that I only wanted to do subjects that were Jewish, whether they were Middle East politics or on Jewish culture. And because that's what I was particularly interested in, had a passion for. So this was a drawing for an article by Abba Eban, and the Israeli tank with its cannon as a menorah symbolized the strength of the Israeli army. This is the publication of the Jewish community Rosh Chodesh. Frequently my work appears in Rosh Chodesh, sometimes on the covers. For over 20 years my works have been published in Prague, and for the last 15 years even with my permission.
K nám se Mark chová od začátku nesmírně hezky a skromně a na to, jak je i v Americe vlastně už známý umělec, tak nám poskytuje své obrázky do časopisu, který je úplně nekomerční, takže si můžu říct, tak nám je vlastně dává.
I really look forward to getting the issues of Rosh Chodesh in New York and seeing if he used one of my works on the cover. But my friends now in Prague immediately will email me and say, your picture is on the cover. So I know before it comes. For my current exhibition now at the Jewish Museum at the Gutman Gallery, because many of my works are on Jewish magic, Jewish mysticism, the exhibition is titled Jewish Magic in the Art of Mark Podwal.
Podvalová magie je způsob, jakým spojuje staré myšlenky s jejich vizuální podobou a vlastní představivostí, díky čemuž je pak vidíme v novém světle. Právě tím získávají jeho obrázky zvláštní působivost, která tyto staré příběhy židovských legend přenáší do naší současnosti.
Marku, ne jenom jste dobrý umělec, také jste dobrý přítel. Za všechno tady. I'm saying you're not just a great artist, you're a great friend to everyone here. We welcome you, the American community in Prague, the americký obec, židovský obec, také český obec. All of the communities of Prague welcome you. We thank you for your beautiful art.
Se líbí ty jeho náměty, v nichž propojuje motivy pražské, židovské, s motivy obecně židovskými, s Jeruzalémem, se zemí Izraele. To je všechno nesmírně krásné a nakonec on má kresby, malby plné takové velice živé symboliky a každý, kdo se v té židovské tradici alespoň částečně orientuje, tak v tom nachází spoustu narážek. Na někoho to může působit jenom jako určitá výtvarná kompozice, ale je to všechno nesmírně promyšlené a mně se právě ta přemýšlivost spojená s kumštem u Marka Podvala nesmírně líbí.
As long as I can remember, I always drew. From age 4, I remember drawing pictures of ships and pirate ships and trains. And I was always very good at drawing in school, but I never took drawing or painting as a career seriously I did extremely well in school, and if you did very well in school, in America where I was growing up, you either became a doctor or you became a lawyer. You didn't become an artist. And my parents, who had not gone to college, my father admired his cousins who were doctors, and so when I was 12 years old, I remember my father telling me that I should become a doctor. And so I said, okay. Patients who have seen my drawings sometimes say to me, "Oh, drawing is your hobby." And I answer them, "No, medicine is my hobby." This book, Dr. Drawings, is a collection of my drawings from the New York Times, mainly about medical subjects. This is one of the drawings that was in the New York Times, and it shows doctors, and their heads are the medical instruments that they use in their professions.
Jeho výjimečnost spočívá v jeho jednoduchosti. V jednoduchosti těch jeho obrázků nebo obrazů a konec konců i těch textilí, že on vlastně jako tam dává jenom to, co prošlo tím jeho srdcem. O čem je přesvědčený, že to tam patří.
My being invited to design the textiles for the Altneuschul is really through a series of coincidences. Elie Wiesel says there are no coincidences, so who knows? What happened was Pharaoh had never been to the United States. I wanted him to come to the United States, and I figured the best way to get him to the United States would be to invite him to come to the Metropolitan Opera, because he loves operas. And I thought that would seduce him to come. And because I'm friendly with the general manager of the Metropolitan Opera, and I've done art for the Metropolitan Opera, I was able to get Pharaoh tickets to the operas that he wanted. We even sat in the seats of the general manager. And the coincidence is that when Pharaoh and Elena were in New York, they were able to see the Torah curtain that I did for Temple Emmanuel, which is the largest synagogue in the world.
If I saw this place, it was very special for me that the synagogue is really great. 2,050 places too much. 2,500 is really much for me. And I saw this textile, and I asked you. I was a little bit nervous, maybe you recognize it, and I asked it could be possible to do something similar for Prague.
I never dreamed of being asked. I love the Altneuschul. I've gone there for high holiday services and other services through the years. I've drawn it many times. I never dreamed of doing any embroideries for Prague. This is the curtain that I designed. Much of the symbolism relates to Jewish Prague. Here's the old new synagogue, because the legend is that angels brought stones from the destroyed temple in Jerusalem to Prague and built the synagogue here. And so the synagogue was built here with the condition, Altneu means old new, but Altnai in Hebrew means on condition that. So another version of the legend is that on condition that these stones are here, on condition that one day they will be returned to Jerusalem in the Messianic age to rebuild the temple.
Synagogální textilie ve staronové synagoze jsou samozřejmě zcela výjimečné. Je to bohoslužebný předmět. Je to předmět, hebrejsky se bohoslužebným předmětům říká tašmišej gruša, čili je to k účelu posvátnému. Ta závažnost je daleko větší. Samozřejmě i ten projekt byl daleko pracnější a větší než kterýkoliv jiný. A myslím si, že je to zcela jistě takové symbolické vyvrcholení vztahu Marka Podvala k Praze, k pražské židovské komunitě.
These are lions with double tails, Czech lions. The 12 Torah pointers represent the 12 tribes of Israel. The Hebrew letters Keter Torah. All of the Hebrew is based upon the Hebrew font in the Prague Haggadah from 1526. There are 5 pomegranates, or rimanim. The pomegranate in Jewish tradition is said to have 613 seeds, each seed representing one of the commandments of the Torah.
Vychází z tradice těch textilií, které pro tu synagogu se nosily jako dary prostě po staletí. A právě to chytit se té minulosti a té tradice, najít tam nějakou tu souvislost a přitom tam vytvořit nějaký nový význam, tak to není vůbec jednoduché. To nemůže dělat každý. Ty jeho obrázky a stejně tak ten textil, to není jenom ten vnější efekt, ale je v tom právě vždycky nějaká ta myšlenka a význam.
The caporet is from around 1720. And the colors were picked to complement the caporet. Initially, I was asked only to design the curtain, and then I was asked to design all of the textiles. And so this is the textile for the reader's desk, the amud. And here's another crown, and the two lions, usually in Jewish iconography, are holding the Ten Commandments. But because this is the reader's desk, I have them holding a book.
Mám i velkou radost, že se ve Strnové synagoze objevily jeho textilie, které tam vnášejí do toho bílého prostoru barvu, takové teplo. Ta červená barva to tam opravdu umí rozářit.
So then I was asked to design the pillow where the Hanukkah menorah used to rest. So the design is of a menorah.
Ten důvod, proč to daruje, vlastně jako není primárně, nebo nespočívá primárně v tom, že bych chtěl, aby někde visel jeho parochet na nějakém místě, kde ho mnoho lidí uvidí, ale že vlastně jako že i ty jeho důvody jsou vlastně jako důvody zbožného člověka.
This is the pillow, the Hebrew abbreviation Kuf Lamed for Kadosh Lad Hashem, dedicated to the Lord. The project was very, very expensive. Total costs were $60,000, including shipping and all kinds of other research costs, not only just the embroidery. And I asked for no fee. I didn't want any payment. I didn't ask for any expenses for my trips to Prague. And friends and foundations donated the money. And it was very easy to get the contributions because people were honored to be asked and wanted to participate in this project.
Hospodin mluvil k Mošemu, říkaje, pověz synům Izraele a vyberou pro mne příspěvek. Můj příspěvek vezměte od každého, jehož jeho srdce pobízí přispět. A ať mi udělají svatyni a usadím se v jejich nitru. Staronová synagoga, jejíž prosté tvary jsou častým motivem jeho obrazu, bude pro jeho truma vhodným místem, protože málo komu jinému by tolik šla ze srdce.
Kafka wrote in his journals that writing is a form of prayer. For me, drawing is a form of prayer. But Rabbi Sidon, let me assure you, during services, on festivals and Shabbat, I am never drawing. I may not always be praying, but I'm never drawing. When I first saw in New York the Torah mantle, the Torah cover, I couldn't speak, I cried. It was just such an emotional experience. Whenever I think now about the dedication, I cry, because it's just something I could never have imagined. My drawings show that I have a great imagination, but I could never have imagined to do this. There's a legend that says that God showed Moses the book of Adam, and God told Moses that in the book of Adam it was written the name of everybody who would ever live. and next to each name was a task that each person would perform. And I believe in legends, and I would like to believe that my task was to design the textiles for this synagogue.